Given our country's peacekeeping history, New Zealand has a keen interest in the future of Bougainville. As Prime Minister of Papua New Guinea, do you support Bougainville independence?
There's a process that will facilitate the peace process. Bougainville have voted for independence, but independence was not the only issue. In 2001, when the peace agreement was signed, I want to thank New Zealand government then and up till today for forever standing with Papua New Guinea in aspirations to bring forever peace in Bougainville. And peace in Bougainville also includes looking into the option of independence they exercise during the vote. So there's a process that is running, including the result coming to Parliament. I cannot preempt the outcome of the process. Parliament will have a handle on this matter. At the moment, we're going through consultation that is allowed by PNG Constitution and the Bougainville Peace Agreement. So when the process is retired with, then I'm at a place to comment.
I appreciate there is a process, but as leader of your country, you must have a personal position. In principle, do you support the right of Bougainville's people to choose their future path, to choose independence?
I have a duty to defend Section 2 of my Constitution, and that is the sovereignty established in 1975.
Which is to say you don't support Bougainville independence, in principle?
You necessarily don't have to put words into my mouth.
Well, what does that mean? If you have a duty to uphold Section 2 of your Constitution, which is sovereignty in your view, how should we interpret that when it comes to the independence issue for Bougainville?
Respectfully, as I did indicate, the process is running its course. I'm the Prime Minister of Papua New Guinea, and I'm entitled to reserve my opinions.
In 2019, in accordance with the Bougainville Peace Agreement that you referenced, Bougainville residents overwhelmingly, comprehensively voted in support of independence. So far, your Parliament has refused to table the results, and the impasse, as you mentioned, is subject of mediation by Sejere Mataparai. Just give us your side of that. Why has Parliament so far refused to table those results?
I don't think Parliament has been provided with the opportunity to deal with the result as yet. It hasn't been brought to Parliament. The referendum result is still with the government of Papua New Guinea and the autonomous government of Bougainville. We're going through the phase of the process that is allowed by the Constitution. Section 342, subsection 1 of the Constitution allows for consultation. That is the process we're going through. That is the process in which Sejere has been brought in to moderate on. It's currently moderating on the steps that will take place to usher in the results into Parliament. So Parliament hasn't been given the opportunity to have a handle on the matter as yet.
Do you feel that that process is helping you to progress? Are you making progress through that consultation?
That is part of the process. So Bougainville leadership appreciated that process must be deployed. They may be as part of the process running as Melanesian people. We may find a solution elsewhere. That is also part of the process.
You said recently that Bougainville must have economic independence before it can have political independence. The Panguna mine still has copper and gold deposits worth as much as $90 billion, according to some estimates. Would that not provide sufficient economic independence?
That is a matter for Bougainvilleans to decide themselves. And at the moment, as I speak, they have all functional and power autonomy devolved to them, including economic powers. And so until Panguna is up and running and producing revenue for Bougainville, as stand today, 5% of the current expenditure in Bougainville is raised from Bougainville. So it's healthier for them to raise a revenue threshold at least about 50%, if not about 70%, to sustain their current expenditure threshold.
You've talked about the process and needing to follow the different steps in the process. So Bougainville's leaders say they want independence by September 1st, 2027 at the absolute latest. Given what you understand about the process, do you think it's possible?
Anything is possible. Anything is possible.
That date is possible?
Anything is possible. I can't preempt the outcome of the moderation and the process that is running. We are in 2025. So a time period in 2026 until 2027. Again, Parliament is bigger than James Marape. Parliament decides. The Parliament have a mindset of its own.
If Bougainville were to have independence, do you think that would trigger other independence movements within Papua New Guinea?
We have, we are a nation of so much diversity, the most diverse nation on planet Earth. And so it's not Bougainville versus PNG, a color versus another color, a language versus another language. It's a series of a set of languages in Bougainville versus over 800 languages in Papua New Guinea, all having their own traditional governance and worldview. 50 years ago, we were isolated from each other. Today, we are a conglomerate of tribes into one sovereignty. And so in that context, the 20 other provinces exist in our country. They're not showing much sign of restlessness in terms of detachment from our nationhood, but provinces are crying out for autonomy. Bougainvilles have been pace-setters. Prior to 1975, they want to be on their own. The provincial government systems we have today was introduced at the backdrop of Bougainville's cry for independence. Mind you, the September 1st date was a September 1st date in 1975 when they declared unilateral independence. That's 15 days prior to our national independence. As a compromise, provincial government was brought into existence in Papua New Guinea. And we have 21 provinces today, and Bougainville as a special region. And so I can't disillusion myself from the fact that extend possibility into time, into the future. Other parts of our country may see Bougainville setting pace. And one thing many forget is that at the barrel of a gun, the quest for peace was brought in. And so we have so much prevalence of gun also in other parts of our country. Other parts of our country can, fight with the national government and then said, all right, let's truce, have peace, and part of that could be referendum for independence. That is a dangerous precedent in a nation of so much diversity. So as Prime Minister today, my due care is not just to the present, but also to the future. So we work this path diligently. In the time between now and when we're dealing with the rest of Bougainville, we're trying to entrench the rest of our country into absolute clarity in law that no one must talk about autonomy and move to independence at the same breath.
You mentioned that peace was ultimately achieved having had so many of the people in your country facing the barrel of a gun. Is there any foreseeable scenario in which you would support the use of military force in Bougainville? We
will put into law in our constitution that never again into the future will PNG Defence step into Bougainville. Never again will PNG Police step into Bougainville. And that leaves my concern for Bougainville open. Whilst PNG Police and PNG Defence will not step into Bougainville, what will happen if lawlessness re-emerges in Bougainville? In the Bougainville crisis, we had fractures also. A society that was equally divided between, for instance, the Bougainville Revolution Army and the Bougainville resistance fighters. That generation of children of those factions still remain today. And so as part of my bigger scheme of things in the concern over Bougainville, there's a concern running into that space. What happens if lawlessness emerges into time? Because PNG Defence and PNG Police will never step into Bougainville ever again. Scars are too big. We don't want that scar to reopen again.